CNBC-TV18 and Qualys present Digital Shift.
Hello and welcome to CNBC-TV18 and Qualys present Digital Shift, where we're going to have a conversation around the enablement effects of cybersecurity on broader digital transformation efforts that are taking place in India and, of course, around the world. And to kind of break through the talking points, we have with us a leader in this space, Sumedh Thakkar, who is the president and CEO of Qualys, joins us to shed more light on the subject. Sumedh, thank you so much for being part of this conversation.
Gautam, thank you for having me. It's really a pleasure to be here.
All right, as I mentioned, digital transformation, we've seen years worth of digital efforts being compressed into months. We've seen advances in productivity and innovation, but the big question is the enablement that has happened due to effective cybersecurity. Take us through the broad points.
Look, I think the way we have seen digital transformation enabling everything we do in life has been phenomenal in the last few years, things we have not seen before. 10 years, 20 years ago, businesses were using computers, but it was mainly to help their business in the back end. Today, companies compete with each other on the digital experience. Banks are competing with each other on their app. And so digital has become fundamental from a business perspective. But if you look at what has happened with Aadhaar, UPI, et cetera, it's also become extremely important for the socioeconomic enablement and upliftment of a lot of people. And so today, that digital shift is just way too fundamental than what we have ever seen in the past.
It touches every part of our life. And we saw a massive transformation happening, as I mentioned, during that COVID period. But post-COVID, what are the trends indicating? Because businesses, by their nature, by their workflows, by their business models themselves, have evolved significantly. Any key trends that you'd like to highlight?
I think the uptake in digital technology through COVID and post that has been phenomenal. Then business is what you're trying to connect your product with the consumer. And when the consumer stops coming out of their house, you have to find unique ways to get it to them, right? And you do that through apps, people using virtual reality to be able to see within an app how the TV will look on their wall in the house. That's the next evolution because people are not coming out. And so there's just been a big shift in moving into the cloud and moving into mobile technology to be able to enable connect between the consumer and the businesses way more than we have ever seen before.
All right. Now, securing this revolution is part of the big shift. And whenever we look at the universe, the business universe, the attack vectors are increasing because it's a bring your own meeting world. We've evolved from bring your own device to bring your own meeting. Employees want access anytime, anywhere. Companies are becoming more open to dealing with their customers. But it also opens up various attack vectors which are happening. So take us through what's happening currently and how these can be resolved.
Yeah, the overall paradigm of security shifted dramatically in COVID because people kind of, at the time, enterprises were like, all these computers are within my office, so I have a certain way I do security with a firewall, etc. The next day, everybody picked it up and went home, and they are working on home networks, Wi-Fi networks with their kids who are downloading all kinds of things on the network, and so that completely shifted. And today, now we are in a world where it is hybrid, and so security teams have to figure out ways to have a environment where they can secure that digital transformation no matter whether it's in the cloud, whether it is on-prem or whether it is a remote workforce. And I think that's been the biggest dramatic shift in that because the attack surface has increased. So what was only an office location maybe in the past or a data center, today every single laptop that the employee takes home is your attack surface. And so enterprises have had to shift and evolve to be able to find ways that they can have this continuous visibility into the threat environment, even if the employee is sitting at home working on their laptop.
But I'm surprised that even though this has happened, but we still keep seeing a lot of headlines, right, of cybersecurity attacks, of vulnerabilities being exposed. I'm wondering how the conversation has deepened, especially from the perspective of risk, managing risk from enterprises and how they should evolve accordingly.
Yeah, it's not a coincidence that the cyber conversation, the attacks have increased because it's all about the financial gain, right? I mean, cyber criminals, it's an enterprise also for them. They're not going to spend time on something that they don't make money on, right? And so when everything is moving digital and all the banking transactions, financials, etc., healthcare information is online, the incentive for these attackers to go and breach online and the value that they get from selling that data is very high. And that's why they're putting those resources and going in that kind of environment. And so They are putting more resources. Now the question is, as an enterprise, what can you do? And security, I say this always, is a game of speed. It's only one question of whether you are going to get to the issue first or the attacker is going to. If you get to your issue first, you are going to protect yourself. If the attacker gets there, they're going to get in. And so that's really kind of what is happening right now, is that customers are saying there's too many attack surfaces, too many things to do. How can I change the conversation from I use this tool or use this technology to what is the risk that is being created to my environment by being so digital, and then how can I mitigate that risk by using tools or by using cyber insurance?
So in this framework, how does leveraging the power of the cloud helps you deliver better service for customers, help them protect themselves efficiently and keep themselves on top of whatever is happening in the broader security scenario and always be updated?
See, the cloud brings scale. This is one of the biggest things that, and we talked a little bit earlier as well, is, when you have a cricket match, India-Pakistan, the viewership goes up dramatically. And so the providers have to scale up their infrastructure in a matter of seconds, and that's only possible today because of the cloud. And I think that is the same applies to cybersecurity, that as organizations suddenly went from a small percentage of what they did was computerized to everything, their entire business is now digital. The scale at which their employees are traveling everywhere, the scale at which the movement into the cloud is happening, and the importance of that data that is going into the digital ecosystem is so important that they all want scale and the ability to scale up quickly. So cloud-based cybersecurity, the way Qualys has been providing, really helps in that, because we're able to suddenly provide a large amount of capabilities in a very short period of time, because we are able to scale on our backend. And we have a customer here in India who has 4 lakh laptops that are using Qualys to patch their systems, and they can do that in a matter of hours because it's all done through the cloud, versus traditionally it would take a long time because you would have to scale up your entire infrastructure.
All right, and is that scale also the reason why we need a more platform approach to data security? Because I think we are seeing consolidation of a lot of security tools happening. So I guess customers are also saying we need one solution, one dashboard to manage everything. Your thoughts on that?
I think over the last few years, this fear of cyber has caused people to quickly run into, somebody says, oh, I have this one silver bullet, people go buy it, and quickly CISOs realize that they have 60, 70 different cyber solutions, and it's still not giving them the visibility that they need. And so there is a big move into really saying the efficiency of having a platform that provides multiple capabilities versus having multiple solutions that you have to deploy. That conversation is definitely shifting, because when you have a platform, 1 + 1 is 3. When you have 2 different solutions that you have to try and install and manage, then that 1 + 1 becomes 1.5. And so today, when you're trying to scale up quickly and reduce the cost of cyber so that you can help your business, the platform play always helps, because when you have a platform, it's speed, more efficiency, and the ability to scale very quickly, and that reduces costs for them. And that's really the conversation that we are having right now.
All right, take us through some of the offerings on, let's say, the Qualys Cloud platform and how it's helping your customers protect their most vital assets.
Right. See, what has changed now is it's not like 30, 40 years ago when an antivirus was enough. That was only one attack vector. Today, you have cloud, you have on-prem, you have software vulnerabilities, you have misconfigurations, you have cloud buckets that are misconfigured. So the attack surface of different ways that you can be compromised is increased quite significantly. So there is no one single thing that you could do and say, I did that and I'm done. So with the platform approach, what we're able to do is take all these different areas that you could be attacked in, and then provide a capability that is seamless on a single platform, so that customers can see all their cloud, non-cloud, remote, everything in one place, and then actually be able to take a remediation action. Because at the end of the day, just knowing you have all these issues is not enough if you cannot fix it faster than the attacker can get to it. And so having a platform play, what we have helped our customers is not only finding their assets, detecting all the issues, but also helping them immediately fix those in an automated manner.
All right, we'll take a very short break here on CNBC TV18 and Qualys present Digital Shift, but we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
CNBC TV18 and Qualys present Digital Shift.
Welcome back to CNBC TV18 and Qualys present Digital Shift. Let's dial right back into the conversation. Looking at the broad business landscape, securing the cloud infrastructure is still a challenge for many organizations from a cybersecurity standpoint. So what are some of the best practices that you would recommend to a lot of the viewers who are watching right now, who are leaders of their own enterprises in terms of securing the cloud infrastructure?
Cloud related issues are not that different from what we have seen in the past. It pretty much always comes down to we do something in a rush and we have not configured the system correctly. So what we used to have on the on-prem system where, we forgot to put a password, we forgot to change a password. You're seeing most of the breaches in the cloud are really happening because of that. The breaches are happening because somebody put data in a S3 bucket but then they forgot to change the default password, or the bucket was left as publicly accessible versus a private bucket, etc. So it's really about having visibility. First, you need to know what you have in the cloud, which is a problem because everybody's rushing so fast, they're just spinning up more and more and more. So as a security team, how do you know what you have? Second is how, in everything that you have, what is it that you are missing that are the misconfiguration? And the third is how do you fix that? So in the cloud environment, the speed becomes even more important, but the fundamentals of what's causing these breaches are still coming down to misconfigured systems and passwords that have not been changed, etc.
And in terms of structuring their organizations itself to be more secure, any best practices on that front that you could offer to them? The way they work, the way they do their own business, anything on that front that you would suggest to them?
Look, a lot of the conversations with the CISOs now are becoming more about a risk-based approach to security, right? You cannot go and fix every single thing that is out there, and there are too many things. So how do you structure your team in a sense that your tool set, your platforms that you're using are providing you a risk-based view that ties to the business and what impact it will have on the business, and then structure your teams in a way that they're focused more on automation at the end of the day, because today cyber talent is not available as much as we would like to. Attackers are coming in faster and faster than we ever have, and so the real focus needs to be how do you structure your security team not around hiring more and more people, but leveraging more automation so that we can get there faster before the attackers get to our misconfigurations.
Now, an aspect of this is also communicating the value that security brings to the table to the board. So take us through, how can CISOs or CIOs effectively communicate the value of cybersecurity to gain executive sponsorship from the board? Because somewhere I think somebody needs to look at the big picture as well and say that it's not just about cost saving, it's much, much more than that, because in the long run, you're going to save much, much more costs and generate new business value.
It's about the enablement, right? And it's an interesting journey because 4 or 5 years ago, there was a lot of conversation with CISOs saying, we need a seat at the board because it's such an important thing. Now they got the seat at the board, but the board doesn't understand the language that they're speaking, because they will go and say, I fixed these many issues, I have multi-factor authentication, but the board doesn't necessarily look at it that way, because the board looks at it as a business. They're saying, what is the value that you're bringing with the spend that you have? So if you spend 1 crore rupees, what is the output of that? And the CISOs are not speaking that language. So the language has to be that of cyber risk, which how does that apply to the business risk? So being able to say, by spending this 1 crore rupee on cyber, I was able to mitigate 10 crore rupees of business risk is the only language really that they understand. For that, you need risk quantification, which almost nobody's doing today. And those are the newer areas today in cyber everybody's focusing on, is how do we do risk quantification? This is something that we are doing with what we call as true risk, is the ability to at least start to provide you some risk quantification that says, here's where I am now, you gave me 1 crore rupees, and here's where I am now because I was able to bring the risk down.
You think that was the need of the hour, a simple, clear figure indicating where things stand for your enterprise for cybersecurity and where you'd go from here? You think that was the need of the hour, especially today?
I definitely think that simplification and tying it to the business is the need of the hour, because there's way too many different things, too many attack vectors, too many external surface areas that can be attacked. So if we cannot boil it down to something meaningful, then we're just giving updates of hundreds of things we're doing, but we can't say because we did 100 things, we are safer or not. And that's the only job, is becoming safer. And if we cannot make that and show that in a visible way. So just by saying I fixed 1,000 things and I brought new technology, doesn't mean you're safer. And that's why that quantification of risk, with true risk and other types of risk quantification is becoming more and more important, because then the equation becomes much easier.
Absolutely, and it's great to see innovation on both sides of the picture, right? As a provider, as an enabler, you're also making it easier to have these kinds of conversations, and it's enabling new developments in the ecosystem, a broader ecosystem as well, this simplification. So on that cue, let us know about some of the trends which you see shaping the cybersecurity industry here. How do you see it evolving from here?
What we are seeing now more and more is that acceptance of there's a large attack surface out there. There's not enough people that can do these things. The speed at which we're moving into the cloud is very fast. And some of the trends that we see is a better conversation between security teams and development teams, so they can do a better job of reducing the risk and doing a better job of eliminating vulnerabilities upfront. The other thing we're seeing is a lot more focus on cloud security. And the third thing we're seeing is a lot more focus on automation in the overall cyber environment, because today, more and more customers are saying, I don't want my IT team to spend hundreds of hours updating Chrome browser with a severe vulnerability manually. I can use automation that as soon as Chrome has a patch out there, I can automatically patch my system without any human intervention, which means that my risk is reduced within 4 hours, and I don't have to get people to do that. So now you're always looking at how am I using automation to take down my risk as much as I can, and then the residual risk is where you're using your experts to go in and do deeper analysis and find ways to do a better job at that.
All right, we've so far spoken about security in the context of enterprises. I also want to take the conversation towards what the governments are doing, and especially in India, the government has been kind of at the helm of this digital revolution that is happening. And Qualys, I believe, is a security partner with the Ministry of Home Affairs, and you worked extensively on Aadhaar, which is something which we all know.
Yes.
Now, I want to understand, we spoke earlier about scale, right? How do you manage in terms of this scale? Because versus enterprises, the scale here is massive. There's a huge quantum of information which needs to be secure, and it's a critical data. How do you go about it?
Look, with over 1 billion folks out here, scale is what India knows really well. And I think it's been absolutely impressive to see, as I travel a lot everywhere, it's been really impressive to see what the government has done with the leveraging digital technology to uplift a lot of the citizens with financial inclusion at scale, right? This is not just certain people benefiting from the technology. And just a few days ago, Mr. Modi talked about leveraging digital technology as a weapon against poverty. And that is so true, because out on the street, I'm able to buy, a coconut from this person who doesn't have electricity or a credit card machine, but with a QR code, they are able to take digital transactions. This is phenomenal. But it also is very important, because now when everything that is causing this enablement is all digital, you have to have confidence in these systems that every time you use your UPI or something like that, you're not losing money because somebody's stealing it, right? So the confidence of having cybersecurity enable the digital transformation, not just for businesses, but also for the socioeconomic environment, is very important. And we are very proud and happy to be able to have a part in what we are doing with Aadhaar and UIDAI to be part of their stack in helping secure the biometric data of the citizens of India.
And it's a broad impact. It could change the face of how we live today and tomorrow. On the other side, as you mentioned about transactions, I also want to know, India has had a payments revolution as well, where e-commerce has grown leaps and bounds. So how are you securing millions of transactions for the likes of, say, Myntra or Flipkart or Nykaa? Yeah,
we have a pretty extensive customer base here in India. Over 800 plus enterprises are leveraging Qualys. That includes banks, airports, a lot of the e-commerce giants out there. And look, I think that entire journey has to be secured all the way from whether you are buying something on the street or you're buying something online. And the scale that we are able to really bring, and the consolidation on the platform. So those are the two things, right? We can reduce the cost because we're able to bring scale. We are able to consolidate multiple different things, and that way we can reduce the risk much faster, which then translates to your business being able to continue focusing on the business rather than trying to deploy tools for cybersecurity, right? And So today, very excited with what we have been able to do with our partners here in India and the impact that we have had across the board, from everything from airlines to online shopping to media streaming, as well as just helping folks on the street who are accepting payments just using a QR code. It's been a great partnership, and we look forward to continuing to work in those areas as part of Digital India. Many of those entities use us, and we continue to look forward to contributing there.
Absolutely. Before we let you go, any parting thoughts? India is truly emerging as the home of innovation. How do you want the security conversation to pan out? Maybe we're not looking 5 years into advance, but maybe at the next year or two. How do you want, what are the keywords you want in security conversations?
Look, I've been doing this for almost 20 years, and the shift in the conversation on digital and cyber in India has been dramatic in the last 1 or 2 years. And you have some of the best talent out here in India. I mean, even Qualys, we do a lot of our innovation around cybersecurity and technology that we are developing is being developed by our center in Pune. Cutting edge cyber research being done that is leveraged by largest banks and organizations globally is being developed in Pune. And so we are definitely seeing, because of democratization of technology, you see folks here are using the same smartphones and the same technology and the same e-commerce and coffee and car service kind of apps that everybody's using across the world. And so now with that, you have a very good understanding here of what it entails, what the security aspect of it is, and what India brings to the table that is hard for many other countries is the scale. When you have a large bank here has more bank accounts than the population of most countries, the technological and digital scale that the teams here are building is phenomenal, and we are very happy to be able to be part of that and leveraging that skill set to create technology that is used everywhere in the world today.
Well, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere.
Exactly.
That's the enablement effect of cybersecurity on the digital transformation, or rather the digital revolution that is taking place in India and across the world. Sumedh, thank you so much for joining us on this conversation of CNBC-TV18 and Qualys Presents Digital Shift. And well, we've had a broad overview of how the landscape is shaping up. So good reference points for all of our viewers. Thank you so much for tuning in. Till next time, this is your host, Gautam Srinivasan, signing off.
CNBC-TV18 and